Well, I don't know about you, man, but we definitely can't do this episode sober. This is gonna be a tough one, man. So we're gonna have a couple drinks here to to make this podcast go by a little bit easier. So what do we got? Some fine tequila here.
We have some very nice tequila.
I'm using a giant shot glass, which is sacrilegious.
I got
but
the Jets.
Cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
Whew. Oh. And then on top of that, we got a nice craft beer Pilsner. Whew. I hate tequila, dude.
Me too, man. Oh. Actually, no, I love tequila, but I love it more when there's a lime involved.
And we're back. My throat's still a little bit hot from the shot, not going to lie. But we're back, baby. It's Jets Up North Podcast, episode 13. My name's Cole. This is my lovely co-host, Adam. And we're in pain this week.
Yep.
The Jets fell to 4-6.
Yep.
Probably our worst loss of the year by a long shot. I'd say that or Dallas, but I think this one felt worse.
From the get-go, the game felt over, which is really crappy as a fan of the team.
The poetic nature of the last Bills game ending on a Xavier Gibson play, and this one ended on the first play
by him. I just knew. I was like, wow. And the problem is like as a fan of the team, you want to watch the whole game, but immediately I wanted to stop watching. I was like, this is already a mess.
Yep.
A mess of massive proportions.
Yep. So we're going to talk about the Jets-Bills game today. Probably not for very long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. From our end, like, the Bills played great. There's not much for the Jets to talk about.
No.
Then we're going to talk about some of the misery, some of the kind of storylines that are following this team.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some of that instead of the game, because I think that's more where we're situated, where we're sitting right now in the season. It's kind of more crucial to look back and see what got us to this point. And then we'll look at, top performers. There isn't that many, but we'll look into those. And then we'll talk about the Black Friday game, the first ever Black Friday game. We both wore black for the occasion. And then last but not least, there was a quarterback change announced this week.
Yeah.
The depth chart got shuffled around. We're gonna talk about our boy Tim Boyle, UConn / EKU
legend.
What school is EKU? Eastern Kentucky. There we go. Eastern Kentucky University legend. Green Bay Packer, Lion, Bear, and now Jets, our starting quarterback. We're gonna talk about him, obviously, because that's what everyone's been talking about. There's Jets fans on Twitter been wishing Zach Wilson got benched. Here we go. You got what you wanted. I don't honestly believe we're gonna get any better quarterback or offensive play. I think it's gonna be worse. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Maybe we're in for another Mike White game. I guess we'll see.
Who knows? I guess this is like Pandora's box in a way, and we've opened it now, and we're gonna find out what's inside.
Regardless, we're gonna have fun with it. I mean, this is the Mike White episode, not Mike White. There's probably a couple times where I mess up saying Tim Boyle's name and call him Mike White, but this is the Tim Boyle episode, everybody. This is the beginning of the Tim Boyle era.
Yeah.
Everyone, mark your calendars of where you were on that week of November when Tim Boyle was announced the starting quarterback of the New York Jets, because he's going to go on his Kurt Warner run coming up. I can feel it.
Yeah. I feel like my brain might be processing this as trauma in a way, and I'm going to forget about all of
this.
It's
just a bad dream.
Yeah, literally like 3 years from now.
We're going to wake up tomorrow.
Wait, Tim Boyle was our quarterback? That's what I'm going to... It'll be like a Jeopardy fact.
Tim Boyle is just going to be like a random name of like Jets quarterbacks, along with like Bryce Petty.
You and I will kill it at Jets
Greg
trivia.
McElroy.
20 years from now.
Random Jets starters. I would say Christian Hackenberg, but never got to start a game.
I mean, we mentioned his name before we started recording. Josh Johnson.
Yep.
That's a crazy name.
Legend. So, yeah. Anyways, without further ado, we're going to jump into this episode. It's going to be a banger. Thanks for chilling with us.
Yeah.
So, Jets-Bills, it was a clunker. I mean, we mentioned it right away. I mean, the fumble. Bills were just kicking field goals to start.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh, maybe there's a chance. The offense was miserable.
Yeah.
There was a 3-and-out that happened, like, I think it was around the 2-minute warning, right before the fake punt happened.
Yep.
I clicked off before the fake punt happened. I stopped watching. I was like, this is that bad. I can't, like, I was so frustrated. I had to stop. Then all of a sudden,
I think I stopped watching around the same time as you. And honestly, like, after the first quarter, I started just reading with the game
Percy Jackson.
Yeah, it was Percy Jackson.
Nice.
I was just like watching it in my peripheral, like listening while
That's
I read.
kind of what I was doing
like, literally.
after. So yeah, then all of a sudden I found out that they drove down the field and scored a touchdown. And I look, and it was like just a Breece Hall touchdown. And our leading receiver, our best non-tight end, received like the most yards.
Yeah.
Brandon Eccles
I know.
beat Garrett Wilson, beat Lazard, beat all those guys.
know.
So brutal. Anyways, so really quickly here, let's go through the box score. Passing yards, Jets had 92. The Bills had 263. Rushing yards, Jets had 63. Bills had 130. Sacks, the Bills had 5 sacks on Zach and Tim, and the Jets had 1. And then turnovers forced. The Jets only forced 1, but that was the Hail Mary right before halftime that got picked.
Yeah.
And then the Bills forced 4. So, clobbering. This is like a classic Adam Gase era type L. What's frustrating is there's clips of Saleh during the week talking about the guys having juice this week. You think they'd have some urgency. You think they, we talked about last week, they have a chance to go in, sweep the Bills, and then potentially go play for the AFC East lead against Miami this week. And sure enough, the Jets fully jetted, and here we are, sad and having some drinks. So, I mean, give me your thoughts about this game, Adam.
Oh man, it's just, it's like the culmination of all the things that have been going wrong up to this point this year, and it just like came to a head basically. Like, we've won a few games against like the Eagles comes to mind.
They're 9-1 right now, which is crazy.
I know, and we're the one loss that we gave.
I
him.
messaged Bryson, our Eagles buddy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Wow, 9-1, that's a really good team." I'm like, "I wonder who they lost to." And he's like,
It was to us. It was to us, and I called that shit. Anyways, I digress. It just felt like this game was like, how do I put into words? Like,
a kick in the nuts.
yeah, it was a kick in the nuts, but it was like all the last games, there's always something going wrong. And this game, everything that had gone wrong in all the previous games, it all went wrong. It was just like the defense started great, but then obviously it just like
They can only go for so long.
Yeah, it just eroded completely because our offense could not do anything at all. It was brutal, man. It was a terrible game.
Yep, not great. Definitely one that I wish I had backed in the sense of I wish I just
That's
did
the
other things
worst
with my
part.
day.
Just for anyone watching who's not a Jets fan, they're just an unbiased fan. Maybe they're a Chiefs fan or something, and they just come
Don't
here to
know what
watch.
it's like.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's so bad. It's brutal investing 2.5 hours of your time to just watch a horrible product on the field.
Quickly, we're going to top performers. There isn't very many, but we'll go through them anyways. Breece Hall, 15 touches for 73 yards and a score. Quincy Williams, All-Pro, 10 tackles and a tackle for a loss. Ashton, the closer Davis, got a pick, even though it was just, a Hail Mary before halftime that he kind of had a chance to return all the way.
Yeah.
And then Quinnen Williams having another great year. 6 tackles, a sack, and a tackle for a loss. We messaged during the game where we were like, it was nice that Quinnen got a sack because the normies can finally get off his back.
Yeah, literally.
He's been one of our best players this year, and he just isn't getting like the stats, but he's still like play in, play out, performing at an insane level.
He's a game wrecker, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's always getting double and triple team, like always.
Yeah. He's so good, man.
So yeah, not many top performers. I mean, Tim Boyle was one of them, but I forgot to put his stats here. Oops. So, moving on from this game already, we're just going to talk about the Jets as kind of more bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's not obviously the season that we expected.
Nope.
You lose our Hall of Fame quarterback 4 plays of the year. But, I think we're on the record of being pretty optimistic with Zach with this team, thinking he can take that leap, thinking that he had time this summer to kind of improve.
Yeah.
And I will say that I do think he did still improve from last year, but the bar is so low.
I know
that even though this improvement, it's still not good
I
enough.
know when you go from a 1 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10, it's an improvement, and he doubled, but it's just you're still a 2 out of 10. You know, man, it hurts. It's like
bad.
You hate to see it.
It's. I'm willing to bet that it's probably the end of the Zach Wilson era in New York.
Likely,
probably won't see him take unless barring some amount of crazy.
He's
injuries.
gonna get.
He's quarterback 3 on the depth chart. Simeon got
Yeah.
signed to the active roster today. Zach is like that emergency quarterback role that that rule that just got enforced this year.
I could see a universe where we keep him just because we have Rodgers.
But
I also, on the other side, I wouldn't be surprised if we traded him to like the Panthers for like a 6th.
Do another Sam Darnold deal. I think there's gonna be a team that I would be surprised if we release Zach.
Maybe the Niners will trade.
I think there'll be a team. I think a team like even like the Chiefs and having Zach sit behind Mahomes for a bit, or
Dallas,
or
sit him with Trey Lance,
or Cincinnati. Like I think there's gonna be a team that looks at him and is like, he's 24 or 25.
Yeah.
He still has like he throws the ball fantastic.
He does,
but it's just everything else.
Literally.
And so I think there'll be a team that looks at him and says, we'll take a shot on him.
Yeah.
Ideally, going into next year, from 1 to 3, our quarterback 1 is obviously Rodgers, and then we have like a good vet backup. So like a Minshew type guy, esque level,
Kirk Cousins.
Sure, that'd be crazy. I'd love Kirk as a backup on the team.
He'd be goated.
He'll be starting somewhere though.
He will be.
And then a third string would be like literally like a day 3 draft pick, a developmental guy, like a guy that you can come in and soak like up the knowledge in the room with those 2 quarterbacks. So that's ideally what you're hoping for. It breaks my heart because I was fully bonded on Sam. I know you were as well. We both have his jersey. We went through that whole year being like, Sam's not the problem. That last year, like there's no talent around him. It's coaching, all these things. We moved on from him. I understood why. Yeah. And then we got a repeat. It happened again. So it's frustrating. It hurts. I empathize with every single Jets fan out there.
You know what's funny is people blaming Joe Douglas for taking a shot on Zach. At the time, I was enamored by Zach.
There's not a team that wouldn't have taken him second overall.
Dude, like, he looked so good and so promising. Yeah. Everybody loves Zach.
Yeah.
Just go.
There was some people who had him as like a prospect, had him above T-Law, which I disagreed with.
Sims at the time was considered to be like the guy who knew QBs.
Yes.
Obviously, that's changed a little bit now. Yeah. But at the time, he hit on like all of his QB predictions, and he had Zach above Trevor. Like,
insane.
At the time, he was the guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't fault Joe at all for taking that risk.
I agree.
And they got a lot for Sam too, didn't they? Get was it a third and a fourth or something, or a second and a fourth or something?
I think so. Yeah,
which is awesome. Like, you take that.
No, I was surprised with the return we got for Sam. I think the return for Zach's gonna be way worse than Sam.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, I'd be surprised if it was higher than like a 6th. Honestly, like I swear.
Which is it's upsetting
because he's also due for his 5th-year contract, so you're gonna have to sign to something.
True, they'll probably decline that option, and then. But they with Sam. Didn't they trade Sam and they traded him in time for Carolina?
Carolina then picked it up, I think, and it was like 20 mil or something, or something ridiculous.
So hopefully the Jets do something like that, where I think there's more value for a team if they want to take that option. But also he was the second overall pick, and so that option's going to be pretty pricey.
It will be.
I guess we'll see. Unfortunately, it's the end of the Zach Wilson era. Really quickly, do you have a moment or two from the Zach Wilson era that you look back on fondly?
The gritty, probably, against the Steelers.
That Steelers game, we totally that was his first game back.
Yeah.
And man, that I remember like when we were down the 2 possessions and he was like throwing dots.
He was, man.
And we ended up winning the game. We watched that game together. Yeah. And man, we were both like, man, Zach's him. Yeah. I'm sad now because I can't like the gritty video that we post. I can't post that now.
I know.
If we win, I gotta find one of Tim Boyle or something. Boyle. So I totally agree. That game was a good one. Mm-hmm. Obviously, for me, might be the Titans game. That was a game.
Isn't it sad though? There's only like 3 games of Zach's career.
The Buccaneers game is probably up there.
You're like the Buccaneers game, the Steelers game, and the Titans game.
The Jags game, his rookie season was also kind of chill.
Yeah,
with like half the guys out with COVID. Saleh wasn't coaching. Zach had that insane run. Like any of that crazy pass to McDermott.
Oh
like,
yeah,
that was a sweet game too.
But like, I don't know. In 2.5 years, you have like 4 or 5 games where you're like, those are good games.
And then we're going to look back and we're going to see that clip against the Bills where he was walking backwards onto the field and fell on his ass.
That's his Mark Sanchez moment.
That was his seeing ghosts. Yeah. So we wish Zach the best. Obviously, he's not like he's dead or gone yet, but it's going to be a matter of time now. It's unfortunate. I have so much Zach. Like, not so much, but I have some Zach memorabilia, which is tough. It's
actually
gotta
like
go away.
Mind-boggling how bad he is, given like
Jamarcus
how
Russell
good I thought he'd be. I thought he'd be like a superstar in this league.
It's still like been too recent to say it, but I think give it another 5 years, and people are going to look back at Zach Wilson, as much as this breaks my heart to say, as probably like a top 5 draft bust of all time.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Like it's like Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell, and probably Zach Wilson.
Yeah, literally. Like
Which
it's brutal.
So the Jets outdid themselves with the Vernon Golston pick.
Yeah.
Now people forget about that.
The funny thing though is the fact that everyone's like, oh, like I keep seeing posts where it shows Zach's combine, or not his combine throw, his pro day throw,
mm-hmm.
and everyone's like, this throw's gonna haunt Jets fans for the rest of their lives. Okay, they pass on Zach. Let's say who are they taking?
Jamar Chase. No,
yeah,
but they should have.
No, I'm talking quarterback.
Yeah,
though.
nobody. They're not taking Mac Jones. They're not. I kind of wanted Justin Fields.
I did too, but like he is arguably a worse passer than Zach.
I don't know how Justin Fields would have handled like the last couple of years. Yeah,
like he would have been exciting.
The option with him and Brees Hall would have been kind of sick.
Would have been kind of sick though. Who knows? Maybe he would have developed differently. I'm just saying, like, if it wasn't Zach, sure, maybe it was Justin. I really don't think we'd be in the same position.
The 49ers took Trey Lance right after, who is arguably just as big, if not bigger, of a bust.
Literally, and they traded 3 firsts for him.
Yeah, but no one's gonna talk about it because it's San Fran, and they were and they lucked into
and they
Brock
somehow
Purdy.
got better. They somehow got better. Like what?
My 49ers fan buddy, he talks. He in his head, he's already trying to tell himself that they drafted Brock Purdy at 3, and Trey Lance was Mr. Irrelevant, and it just is easier for him that way.
That was like us being like, Zach's actually a backup quarterback, not a former.
Don't look at him through the lens of a second overall pick. He's actually a backup. Still played bad for a backup.
Yeah.
So
now we have to look at him as a third-string quarterback.
Oh man, he looks pretty good for a
third-string quarterback. He's nice.
Some potential.
Yeah.
Anyways, so really quickly here, like, what do you kind of? Some people want this coaching staff fired and let loose. How do you feel about that?
I don't think so.
I think that's a terrible.
I think consistency in the league is one of the most valuable things. You look at the Steelers, you look at the Ravens, you look at the 49ers, you look at the Patriots.
Yep.
What do they all have in common? Consistency. And it's like those teams are always in the mix. I mean, maybe not the Patriots right now, but for the last 20 years they have been. And there's a reason for that. The Steelers, there's a reason for that. It's because they always have the same guys in the front office and within the coaching staff.
Yeah.
If you fire Saleh over this, I think you're making a massive mistake.
But like, what is he supposed to do? You look at like, I feel the same. We kind of use this to merge into the next part of the conversation. But also, like, what was like this coaching staff and this front office supposed to do with all these injuries that happened? Like, what can you do?
And are you gonna blame Saleh for us trading for Rodgers and having to sign Hackett? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's a very backwards way of thinking.
Yep.
And I also don't think you should fire Joe Douglas. Like, if Rodgers was healthy up to this point, we're probably like, I don't know, 8-2 or something like that.
Oh,
like, come on,
for sure. At the very least, we're like in the playoff.
Literally,
like we're in the picture somewhere. We're like within 7.
All
seeds.
It took was a Rodgers. We talked about this last week. If Mahomes tore his Achilles on the 4th play of the game, the Chiefs would be out of the playoff picture completely. Yeah. Like, I'm just like,
it's true.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's just the standard that like, and it's Jets more fun to like I'm talking about like the mass media. It's more fun to poke fun at the Jets.
Oh, totally.
All the, same old Jets, all that stuff.
Totally.
Kind of transitioning now into more of the front office.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned it there, and I'll kind of add on to it. I agree that Joe Douglas in the front office doesn't deserve to get let go.
Yeah.
However, I do think they're very deserving of some criticism.
Oh, totally.
And some of those points here we kind of talk about was like, why aren't you, like, we saw the Vikings with less than a week sign Josh Dobbs, trade for him because Kirk goes down. Then the rookie quarterback gets hurt, so then Josh Dobbs has to play with not even being there for a week because he's in Arizona, and they beat the Falcons.
I have a hunch. At the end of the day, you and I, we're just fans, so we don't get like the behind the scenes as much.
Very true.
I have a hunch that as soon as Rodgers went down, Joe and Saleh might have gone into a room together and been like,
what are we doing?
Let's be real here. The season's probably over. Let's just...
That's crazy to me, though, if you're 1-0.
I know. But maybe Saleh... I feel like Saleh actually gives me the vibe that he would be like, look,
here.
We're going to win.
Yeah.
Saleh gives me the vibe that he doesn't like losing like at all. So he'd probably... But like Joe... That's the only reasoning I have behind them not making moves to win.
It just doesn't make sense. It's been talked about. The biggest thing, it's like, so Zach Wilson was so bad last year that you publicly say we're going to bring in a veteran quarterback. You bring in a great veteran quarterback, if not the best.
The best, yeah.
He gets hurt.
Yeah.
But then you just roll with him again. So you're saying that like you're it's confusing at that point. And then obviously
that's what I mean. It's like, what other motive would there be to keep Zach?
I know. And then to roll with Tim Boyle, and then of course they bring in Trevor Siemian, which I was like about, but like I guess we'll see. I mean, we're about, man, I think we're in for a wild next couple weeks here with the Jets. I think there's potential for it to get better, obviously. Yeah. I think there's potential for it to get a lot worse.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Some of the mistakes that like this front office kind of messed up on was like this offensive line. We talk about it. The writing on the wall was there. They have all these older guys. They have Dwayne Brown, right? Laken Tomlinson, who has been healthy, but like older offensive lineman. Yeah. Bringing back Connor McGovern, getting older.
Yeah.
And then also guys coming off injuries. You have talk about Elijah Vera Tucker, Mekhi Becton. Max Mitchell's coming off injury.
Mitchell, yeah.
And we talk about it in episode 1 or 2. We're like, the question mark with this offensive line is on paper, they look pretty, like it's average to above average.
Yeah.
But can they stay healthy? And here we are in week, 13 or 12? And we've had the stats right here. 7 different starting offensive line combinations. I think it was 14 or 15 different players.
Yeah, it's brutal, man.
I think people want to blame the quarterback because it's so easy to blame the quarterback and offensive coordinator. But I think the biggest issue with this offense is the offensive line because how are you supposed to have consistency?
I think I mentioned that. We talked about it, maybe not last episode, but the episode prior when we talked about like what do we think the root issue of the offense is? And I was like, I think it's the O-line because it's like your offense starts there. Look at the Eagles. Yeah. Their offense is their O-line's so good, and it turns everything. It makes everything else easier.
Look at that game they had against the Vikings, where all they had to do was just keep feeding DeAndre Swift.
Literally,
and that was their game because their offensive line was just getting him those yards.
This offseason, we need to invest a lot of money and a lot of draft capital.
Absolutely.
Into the O-line.
The Jets, without a question, their first and second round, or they don't have a second, their first and third, or if they get a second, all their like top draft picks should be on offense.
Literally.
Depending on how free agency goes.
I think we trade for Devontae. We trade our first.
There's the report of that they're going to be heavy in pursuit of him next year. I'm pretty certain that'll
Imagine
happen.
Garrett Wilson and Devontae.
And I don't think it'll take a first.
And then like,
because his value with Green Bay was higher, and it didn't take a first for the Raiders to get him. So I think like the Jets could get a little bit like around the same.
And he's owed like freaking $44 million next year or something.
Watch him take a pay cut.
The Raiders are booty cheeks. They're gonna want to move him.
The Raiders are going full rebuild. I think next year.
We're gonna get him for like a third.
Yeah,
watch this.
Yeah, we'll go back and address this. So yeah, this front office, I still think I would love to give this whole regime one more year.
Yeah,
even if next year the same thing happens, then just clean house.
I know everyone probably hates Hackett right now, and maybe people are mad at Saleh. And some people are mad at Joe. But if anyone gets fired, I'll be pretty upset because I
don't think Saleh deserves it. I'd be pretty upset. Yeah.
Dude, I'd be gutted because Aaron Rodgers got hurt on the fourth play of the game.
I know.
And this was not the plan at all.
And like if you fire Saleh, like that whole team, the locker room's gonna be pissed. They love they love that guy.
They do.
So you can't. I don't think
it's ridiculous.
I don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah. But the fact that fans are
like, you think
him
Andy
gone,
Reid should get fired because Patrick Mahomes got hurt? I keep on using the same analogy.
The Chiefs, but that's like the best team, so it's good to compare. Like use that hypothetical.
Like,
I get what you're saying. So. Yeah. Anyways, so a couple things to talk about. I'm excited to kind of see how the next couple weeks shake out because right now the Jets are sitting, I think it was like 11th on the draft order.
Yeah.
So we're just outside the top 10. If we're, maybe we're doing a mock draft.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh man, Caleb Williams. No, I don't want a quarterback. Drake May. So you're gonna ruin him too.
Sitting behind Rodgers.
Anyways, so let's move on to this next upcoming game.
Yeah.
We're playing those sons of bitches down in Florida, the Miami Dolphins, but we're playing at home.
Yep.
The first ever Black Friday game on Amazon Prime. I remember looking on this. He's like, man, it's going to be the Rodgers at home wearing the black uniform against Tua. Nope. You're getting Tim Boyle, and you're going to like it.
That's so freaking cursed, man.
So fun to think about. But yeah, so let's just talk about some of the matchups to watch.
Yeah.
Really quickly here. One of the most exciting ones, I think, is this Dolphins wide receiving core. Their playmakers versus the Jets corners. How is Sauce DJ going to handle, Hill and Waddle.
It's the best
right?
receiving room versus the best secondary.
I'd agree. So
in the
that's
league,
gonna be
so,
fun.
yeah.
That's gonna be fun to see.
Yeah.
The Jets' run D. Can they contain Mostert?
Yeah.
I mentioned it in the last year. Mostert did. I think does Mostert still have the most rushing touchdowns this year? He did.
He's close.
He's up there. He's top 3.
Yeah.
And he did really good against the Jets like last year when
Isn't
he played.
it hilarious how good he is for his age and his injury history?
I know. I'm
Like,
good for him. He's such the exception for the position.
I know, and he's like still a top 5 like
And
fastest
fast.
player
All
in
the
the
Miami
league.
Dolphins. Tim Boyle channeling his inner Mike White.
Mhm.
Can it happen? We've seen it happen before. We've seen it happen twice. We have the Bengals game and the Bears game.
Yeah.
You never know.
If Tim knows what's good for him,
Episode
he's just
13.
gonna feed Garrett the entire game.
That's what Zach was kind of good at.
I want 19
he
targets.
got a lot better at feeding
He did.
Because last year there'd be games where Garrett has 2 targets.
Yeah,
and you're
literally.
like, what's going
and
on?
I remember I would just be frustrated,
Yeah.
and it's like because I don't. Maybe I'm in the minority here. Maybe this is a weird thing to say, but there's like a pride to your team having like viable fantasy players.
For sure.
Like there's like a thing there,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of times where the Jets didn't have any. I remember when we got Le'Veon Bell, and I was like, "Yo, we actually have a fantasy relevant
taking
player."
like a late round flyer on Elijah Moore.
Robbie Anderson in the 6th.
Yeah.
But like now we have Brees and Garrett, and it's like,
And I think
okay.
Conklin in like a deep league is still like
Oh,
a decent tight end
totally.
every now and
Anyway,
then.
so like last year, everyone was like, "Oh, Garrett Wilson could be really good in fantasy," and there would be those weeks where you get 2 targets, and you're like, "Oh, that's embarrassing, man."
Garrett this year, if he had Rodgers, would have been a top like 3 fantasy
Oh,
receiver.
100%.
That play, I see every now and then on Twitter, I'll
100%.
see that catch against the Giants
Yeah.
in preseason, and man, it just makes me so sad.
I made a point though in all my leagues to not go after him specifically because I knew I was like, the Jets are gonna fuck this up
I
somehow.
took him in both leagues. I actually, in my,
He's still good though.
yeah, no, except
Like,
for this
he's
last
still
week,
good,
he had his
yeah.
first really bad week.
Yeah.
Moving on, my favorite part of the segment.
Yeah.
Let Tim Boyle.
Yes.
I was curious, putting this stuff together today. I'm like, let's do a deep dive into Mr. Tim Boyle and see what he's made up of,
Mhm.
and see how he got to where he got.
There's a lot in here.
A lot to analyze and take in. Not great, but we'll dive right in. So Tim Boyle, I don't know what year. Oh, he was born in '94, I think.
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Timothy. He went to school for 3 years in UConn from 2013 to 15. So never had a chance at UConn to be the guy.
Yeah.
And then he obviously transferred to Eastern Kentucky, and that's when he finally had his first season as like the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very great.
No.
In college, his senior year, he went 11 touchdowns, 13 picks, rushing touchdown, completion percentage, 61. So, with a rating of 75. Total in all of his university career is 12 touchdowns to 26 interceptions. So not great. I'm pretty sure he was undrafted. I didn't even look this up. I just wanted to see the stats.
My question is just like, how did he get into the league?
So my one thing, the one comparison I had to that is he got to play at least, but Matt Castle, you know who Matt Castle is?
Classic.
He never even played university.
I did not know
He
that.
went to USC because he
Yeah.
sat behind Matt Leinart
Yeah, but how did he
All
get
those-
into the league then?
because he was at USC. And
Oh,
like,
that's just why?
Yeah.
Based off of like.
and so the Patriots drafted him. You know that story.
Yeah.
Tom Brady tears his Achilles. He takes
He
them to 11 and
played,
5.
yeah.
They miss the playoffs. He goes to KC for a couple years and has a journeyman's career.
That's crazy.
Tim Boyle, kind of similar story here.
Wild.
Look at him now. He started a couple years in Green Bay, so that's where he's familiar with
Mhm.
Hackett and Rodgers' system. God does a year in Detroit. That's where he gets his 3 starts. 0-3 in those starts. With a completion percentage of 64, which is okay. 3 touchdowns, 6 picks.
Very nice.
Nothing great. If you want to go look up some of his highlights, just go on Twitter and search Tim Boyle highlights. You'll find them actually.
I want to see Tim Boyle highlights with that one Meek Mill song.
Yeah,
over
I'm
it.
pretty sure the
That-
screenshot that I have in the
that-
Google
is that
Doc
the
here, I'm
video?
pretty sure that
Oh,
top
yeah, it
one
says-
is that.
It says "fuck it," Tim Boyle highlights. It's definitely that.
Yeah. Matt
That's so
O'Leary.
funny.
So he's with the Lions. That's where he had starting experience. He was with the Bears
That's
last
so
year.
good.
He stayed in the
Yeah.
NFC North NFC North the whole time, and then he signed with the Jets.
Yeah.
Obviously, he signed with that familiarity with the Hackett Rodgers system.
And he's familiar with elite play and winning games. Clearly, I can read that from.
I mean,
his-
he was with the Packers in 2019 and
Yeah.
2020, so I mean, he did a lot of winning there.
He did. Yeah. He knows how to win.
So I look at this, and I'm like, there's 2 schools of thought. You're like, this guy I don't know who his dad is or how he lucked into being an NFL quarterback.
No, I don't know.
Or he's the biggest unknown in NFL history, and he's Kurt Warner, like I said, and he's going to show up and throw 5 touchdowns and no interceptions and beat the fuck out of the Miami Dolphins.
Come on. I love your optimism. You definitely.
This is just it's the Jets cycle, you know.
Yeah, it's like a pendulum.
Yeah,
just swings back and
I'm
forth.
kind of just like embracing the meme of Tim Boyle.
Yeah.
So I'm not really that optimistic. I'm like, you know what?
The worst part about this is it gives me flashbacks just to the last 5 years in general, where like random QB starts for the Jets.
Luke Falk.
Literally, that's what came to mind was Luke Falk.
Yeah, Luke Falk game against the Eagles.
Yeah. And it's like. Again, this harkens back to what I was saying earlier in the episode. It's just like a shit product all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm very disappointed in Woody Johnson. Our stadium sucks. Our turf sucks.
Yep.
And the team more
medical
often
staff
than not,
obviously sucks because everyone's dying.
Fucking sucks. It's just like, I don't know if you saw, but anonymously players voted on certain things in the league. Guess which stadium was the worst in the league?
Was it MetLife?
It was MetLife.
This stadium's pretty bad. All the fans call it an air conditioner on the
it
outside.
looks like an air conditioner. I've been there twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, I'll be there next year.
Yeah.
But oh well.
Anyways,
I mean,
sorry. I
no,
digress.
that's fine. So all of this is to say is we really don't know what's going to happen with this offense. It can't really get worse. There's this tweet from Adam Schefter here. I mentioned the offensive line combinations, but it just gets worse. We've had 9 touchdowns in 10 games.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure we could sit here and off the top of our head remember
Name
all of them.
all. Yeah.
We were 30 3-0 for 131 on third downs, which is 22.9, which is by far the worst in the league. I think the next closest is like 31 or 32%.
And it's nearing the worst in NFL history, if I'm not mistaken.
In 2023, in such a passive game where like we said, Josh Dobbs can come in and throw and win a game against the Falcons, who are a good defense.
Yeah.
It's inexcusable.
So
273 point yards per game, which is third lowest in the NFL.
Brutal.
15 points per game.
15 points per game is so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
So it's just pit of misery. It's really it's really frustrating that we probably have had the best defense since the 2010 Jets, like on this team.
Oh, totally.
And we wasted it.
Yeah.
Back-to-back years, basically.
I know. Thankfully, a lot of the guys that make up the core are either on rookie contracts or like Quinnen Williams have been recently signed.
Yeah.
Quincy Williams as well.
But
like, it just hurts to waste it.
Another year goes by, guys get older. Maybe
I know.
Maybe like
and
guys
it's
get older,
like,
get injured. Like you just don't know.
And
right?
like
and
the
all.
NFL is very fluid, and guys can fall off quickly. I'm not saying Sauce Gardner's gonna just fall off tomorrow.
He had a bad game against the Bills,
but it's like 3 years ago, people were like, OBJ is the GOAT.
Man,
and now he's a bum. He's an absolute bum.
He is like a third
things
string.
Change very quickly.
Yeah. NFL stands for not for
quickly,
long.
Literally. So it's like, it just hurts knowing that we had Rodgers and he's gone. It's a damn shame.
Yep.
Anyways.
What do you think the score is going to be?
I think it's going to be 3-0 Jets.
I love it.
That's my score prediction.
Greg the leg. It's like a 68
game winner with time with 3 seconds.
Wind behind his back helping him, and he hits like a 70-yarder.
Yeah, it's a 68-yarder.
69.
Win it. Nice. 69-yarder to win the game after it's been a stalemate all day long.
It's pouring rain the whole game.
Yeah.
The fans are miserable.
Yeah. There you go. Actually, no, my real prediction is 24-21 Jets.
24-21.
Yeah. Boyle throws a couple tutters. Greg the leg. Field goal to win it. There you go.
Love it. My Jets record prediction. I don't even know where to begin, man. I'm going to go. I agree. I think we're going to get, if the Jets win this, we're going to see some more offensive production. I think we're going to get Garrett touchdown. We're going to get a Brees touchdown, and we're going to get a Rucker touchdown.
There's no way we lose if we get a Brees, Garrett, and Rucker touchdown. That's like
the trifecta.
Literally, that's the holy trinity of touchdowns.
So, with 3 touchdowns for the Jets, I think the final score is going to be 27 to 25 for the Jets.
That's
a couple field goals for Greg.
A nice score. It's unique.
But let's just see how this offense responds. I'm like, the bar is 6 feet under with Zach Wilson right now. It's buried.
It's so bad. And it's like, it's bad when you go into the game being like,
I'd be excited for a pair of touchdowns.
Yeah, I would be excited if someone threw a touchdown pass. Like, that's so bad.
So, we'll see. Once again, we'll be back here next week to talk about it. I don't even know who they play next week. Atlanta?
Then the Texans, then at Dolphins, then Commanders, Browns, Pats.
So, like,
dude, if we had Rodgers, we'd be running the table.
It just breaks my heart that, like, there's some of the games that we had that were, like, so close. Like that Patriots game earlier on, right? Just, like, so back and forth. Or if they just, like, showed up against if they got a game against the Chargers or the Raiders.
Your prediction record is 7-3.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. And
I had us losing to the Bills.
Mine is 8-2, so we're still neck.
You're still one ahead of me.
Yeah.
You've been one ahead of me for a while.
I have Dolphins we lose, and you have Dolphins we lose. So
there we go. So we're gonna be tied after this week. Anyways, that's Jets Up North, baby. Episode 13. Thank you for flying with us. It sucks when this team's bad. We started this podcast thinking this team was going to be fun, competitive. There'd be lots to talk about.
Yeah.
There still is lots to talk about, but it's miserable.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you for flying with us. We'll be back here next week with another one. Until then, peace out.
Peace.